CIA and FBI are monitoring Black Israelites right now. 1. Iran's shocking discovery. U.S. intelligence agencies are watching Black Israelites. The revelation that U.S. intelligence agencies, particularly the CIA and FBI, have placed the Black Israelite movement under intense surveillance has ignited widespread debate and speculation, raising profound questions about the nature of state power, historical narratives, and the limits of religious and civil liberties. According to Iranian intelligence sources, American authorities perceive the movement as a potential destabilizing force, justifying covert monitoring and infiltration. This assertion invites deeper reflection on the motivations behind such scrutiny, the extent of governmental intervention, and the broader philosophical implications of knowledge, control, and state authority. While Iran's claim may be shaped by its own geopolitical agenda, the mere suggestion that a religious community rooted in Black identity and biblical heritage is being watched so closely by the U.S. government rekindles long-standing concerns about surveillance, racial politics, and the mechanisms through which dominant powers seek to regulate historical discourse. The Black Israelite movement has long occupied a space of fascination, controversy, and misrepresentation. At the core of its belief system is the assertion that African Americans, along with other people of color, are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites. This claim challenges conventional Judeo-Christian teachings and Western historical narratives, positioning the movement as both a religious and socio-political force. Over the past several decades, Black Israelite communities have gained visibility in urban centers across the United States, drawing adherents through teachings centered on identity, spirituality, and historical justice. For many followers, the movement is not merely a theological framework, but a radical act of reclamation, a means of restoring a lost heritage and resisting systemic oppression. In their view, the recognition of their lineage is not just an abstract intellectual exercise, but an existential awakening, one that empowers African Americans and other marginalized communities to redefine themselves outside the constraints of a Eurocentric historical paradigm. Given this transformative ideology, it is unsurprising that the movement has attracted both admiration and scrutiny. Supporters regard Black Israelites as truth seekers who challenge historical inaccuracies, while detractors, including some mainstream religious institutions and government bodies, frame them as a radical or subversive force. According to Iranian intelligence reports, U.S. authorities have designated the Black Israelite movement as a high-risk group due to its growing influence, its engagement with historical revisionism, and its potential to mobilize disenfranchised communities in ways that disrupt existing power structures. Iran claims to have intercepted communications and reviewed classified documents indicating that American intelligence agencies have deployed a range of covert strategies to monitor and control the movement. These strategies allegedly include the use of informants, digital tracking, and psychological operations designed to discredit Black Israelite teachings, a potential national security threat. Iranian sources speculate that the Black Israelite movement is being monitored not because of any direct threat of violence or insurrection, but because of its capacity to reshape historical consciousness and challenge institutional authority. By asserting that African Americans are the true Israelites, the movement calls into question dominant religious and historical frameworks, including those that underpin Western Christianity and Jewish identity. This epistemic disruption is not merely theological, it is deeply political. If knowledge is power, then the ability to redefine one's historical and spiritual identity carries with it the potential to reconfigure existing social hierarchies. Iran contends that these concerns have driven American intelligence agencies to initiate systematic surveillance efforts designed to monitor, infiltrate, and potentially neutralize the Black Israelite movement before it gains broader traction. Iranian intelligence claims to have gathered information on these covert operations through a combination of cyber warfare, intelligence sharing with U.S. adversaries, and leaks from whistleblowers within the American intelligence community. Tehran, which has long invested in cyber espionage as part of its broader geopolitical strategy, asserts that its analysts intercepted internal FBI memos categorizing the Black Israelites as a high-risk movement due to their religious ideology and increasing popularity. Additionally, Iranian sources suggest that disillusioned former U.S. intelligence operatives have provided insider information detailing the scope of surveillance efforts. These whistleblowers reportedly leaked documents outlining FBI and CIA strategies for tracking Black Israelite gatherings, monitoring their online presence, and embedding undercover agents within the movement's leadership structures. 2. What Iranian analysts say about the U.S. government's fear of Black Israelites. The Black Israelite movement presents a unique challenge to U.S. authorities precisely because it intersects with multiple areas of concern: historical revisionism, political mobilization, and international geopolitics. These dimensions, they claim, render Black Israelites a focal point of state surveillance, not due to any genuine security threat, but because of the movement's potential to disrupt the established order by challenging dominant historical and religious narratives. The U.S. government has a well-documented history of monitoring and suppressing Black-led movements, particularly those advocating for self-governance and challenging dominant historical frameworks. The Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, and even Martin Luther King Jr.'s Southern Christian Leadership Conference all faced extensive government surveillance, infiltration, and disruption under COINTELPRO. Declassified FBI documents reveal that one of the program's explicit goals was to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah who could unify and lead African Americans toward greater political and economic autonomy. Iranian analysts argue that this mentality persists today, with Black Israelites now occupying the role of a movement that challenges mainstream religious, historical, and social constructs. According to Iranian intelligence, the surveillance of Black Israelites is an extension of this deeply ingrained institutional fear. The movement's emphasis on reclaiming biblical identity and resisting assimilation into Western religious traditions places it squarely at odds with the mainstream Judeo-Christian framework that underpins American society. Additionally, Black Israelites frequently highlight systemic oppression, addressing issues such as mass incarceration, economic exploitation, and racial injustice, topics that have historically provoked government scrutiny of Black-led movements. Iran suggests that by closely monitoring Black Israelites, U.S. intelligence agencies are not reacting to any tangible security threat, but are instead engaging in preemptive containment of a group that has the potential to shift public discourse in significant ways. While U.S. officials have occasionally pointed to isolated incidents of extremist rhetoric or confrontations involving individuals associated with the Black Israelite movement, Iranian analysts argue true motivation behind government surveillance is not fear of violent extremism, but fear of ideological influence. The core claim of Black Israelites, that African Americans are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites, poses a fundamental challenge to widely accepted historical and theological narratives. If this perspective were to gain widespread acceptance, Iranian scholars contend, it could have profound consequences for religious institutions, racial identity politics, and even international relations. Iranian officials outlined three primary reasons why they believe the U.S. government views the growing influence of Black Israelites as a potential threat. First, the movement's assertion that mainstream interpretations of biblical history have been deliberately distorted represents a direct challenge to Western religious institutions. According to this perspective, European powers and religious authorities have historically suppressed the truth about the true identity of the Israelites to maintain control over historical narratives. If the Black Israelite interpretation were to gain traction, it could significantly undermine the credibility of Western religious institutions, particularly those that have upheld a Eurocentric portrayal of biblical figures. This revisionist perspective, Iranian analysts argue, is particularly troubling for the U.S. government because it strikes at the heart of America's religious and cultural foundations. Christianity has played a central role in shaping American identity, and any widespread challenge to traditional theological interpretations could lead to broader societal shifts. If African Americans, and potentially other groups, began embracing an alternative biblical narrative that rejects traditional church teachings, it could diminish the authority of mainstream religious institutions and usher in a wave of religious and cultural realignment. Beyond its religious implications, the Black Israelite movement has increasingly vocalized its stance on systemic racism, police brutality, mass incarceration, and economic inequality. Black Israelites see their identity not merely as a religious awakening, but as a call to action against contemporary forms of oppression. This intersection of faith and activism. Iranian intelligence claims that U.S. intelligence agencies have enacted a series of covert operations aimed at neutralizing the Black Israelite movement. These operations allegedly include extensive digital surveillance, infiltration of Black Israelite groups, and disinformation campaigns designed to discredit the movement's leaders. Iran asserts that the FBI has placed undercover informants within Black Israelite communities, monitoring their activities and gathering intelligence on their beliefs and organizational structures. Furthermore, Iranian reports suggest that the U.S. government is actively shaping media narratives to portray Black Israelites as an extremist fringe group rather than a legitimate religious or historical movement. By linking the movement to isolated incidents of confrontation or controversial rhetoric, intelligence agencies allegedly seek to marginalize Black Israelites in the public eye, making it easier to justify continued surveillance and intervention. Iranian intelligence officials assert that the CIA and FBI are deploying advanced technological tools to monitor Black Israelite gatherings, teachings, and digital footprints. The alleged scope of these surveillance programs is vast, involving AI-driven data analysis, real-time location tracking, and deep infiltration of online spaces where members communicate. If Iran's assertions hold true, these operations mirror Cold War-era intelligence programs, such as COINTELPRO, which sought to dismantle Black liberation movements through surveillance, infiltration, and psychological warfare. One of the most striking claims made by Iranian analysts is that U.S. intelligence agencies have intercepted phone calls and encrypted communications of prominent Black Israelite leaders. The leaked documents reportedly detail extensive efforts to gather intelligence on their ideological stances, plans for religious gatherings, and connections with other social movements. Iranian sources suggest that American intelligence agencies have leveraged the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA courts, to justify wiretapping and electronic eavesdropping on individuals associated with Black Israelite communities. While the U.S. government frequently justifies such surveillance in the name of national security, Iran argues that this monitoring is not about preventing terrorism, but about preemptively suppressing an ideological shift that could challenge the status quo. By surveilling private communications, intelligence agencies can anticipate organizational strategies, detect patterns of mobilization, and even plant disinformation to create distrust within the movement. This strategy, Iranian analysts suggest, is not about responding to threats, but about maintaining control over emerging ideological transformations. Iran's intelligence sources further allege that U.S. authorities are utilizing artificial intelligence, AI, to track Black Israelite discourse online. AI-driven programs reportedly analyze keywords, sentiments, and engagement metrics associated with Black Israelite teachings, allowing intelligence agencies to detect emerging trends, identify influential figures, and flag discussions that challenge mainstream narratives on race, history, and religion. According to Iranian analysts, this level of digital surveillance enables U.S. agencies to construct detailed psychological profiles of key Black Israelite leaders, predicting their behavior and preemptively countering their influence. The AI programs allegedly categorize discussions based on themes such as anti-colonial sentiment, critiques of institutional Christianity, and challenges to Western interpretations of Jewish history. Iran argues that such surveillance is part of a broader strategy to maintain ideological control and prevent a large-scale shift in historical consciousness. Beyond digital monitoring, Iranian intelligence reports claim that the U.S. government employs geo-tracking technology to follow the movements of Black Israelite leaders and prominent members. This surveillance involves tracking mobile devices, scanning surveillance cameras near major Black Israelite gatherings, and deploying drones for real-time monitoring. If Iran's claims are accurate, the objective of this geo-tracking operation is to map out networks of influence, identify high-profile gatherings, and preemptively disrupt large-scale religious or political mobilization efforts. These tactics, Iranian analysts suggest, bear a striking resemblance to past intelligence efforts targeting Black nationalist organizations, wherein authorities closely monitored figures like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. to anticipate their movements and neutralize their influence before they could galvanize mass support. Beyond passive surveillance, Iran claims that U.S. intelligence agencies are actively infiltrating Black Israelite communities to disrupt them from within. These covert tactics, reminiscent of strategies used against the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam, allegedly include planting informants, instigating internal divisions, and manipulating media narratives to discredit the movement. Iranian intelligence sources allege that the FBI and CIA have embedded informants within Black Israelite congregations, encouraging them to report on organizational activities, leadership disputes, and potential ideological vulnerabilities. These informants are allegedly tasked with gathering intelligence on the internal dynamics of the movement, including financial structures, political affiliations, and recruitment strategies. If these claims are true, the U.S. government's goal is not only to monitor, but also to actively influence the movement from within. By strategically placing informants in positions of leadership or trust, intelligence agencies can shape discussions, redirect organizational efforts, and discourage members from engaging in broader political activism. This strategy mirrors historical tactics used against Black civil rights organizations, where paid informants were deployed to sow internal mistrust and discredit key figures. Iranian analysts go further, claiming that U.S. intelligence operatives have not merely monitored existing theological disputes within the Black Israelite movement, but have actively exacerbated them to weaken internal cohesion. Black Israelites are not a monolithic group. The movement consists of multiple sects with varying interpretations of scripture, identity, and activism. Iranian sources suggest that U.S. intelligence agencies have exploited these differences, amplifying doctrinal disagreements to prevent the movement from forming a unified front. For example, by fueling debates over whether non-Black individuals can be part of the Israelite lineage, intelligence agencies can deepen rifts that undermine collective organization. Similarly, Iranian reports claim that intelligence agencies have encouraged internal conflicts by spreading misinformation about prominent Black Israelite leaders. Through the strategic circulation of rumors, the questioning of leadership integrity, and the fostering of mistrust within congregations, these tactics allegedly aim to destabilize the movement from within, making it easier to control and discredit. Iran's intelligence community further argues that one of the most effective ways the U.S. government seeks to neutralize Black Israelites is by shaping public perception. According to leaked documents, intelligence agencies have collaborated with media outlets to portray Black Israelites as an extremist, anti-Semitic, or fringe movement. Iranian analysts claim that the FBI and CIA have worked with journalists to highlight isolated incidents of radical rhetoric while ignoring the broader, more nuanced teachings of the movement. By focusing on a few figures or confrontational street preachers, the media can frame the entire movement as dangerous or irrational, discouraging mainstream engagement with its ideas. Iran further contends that government-funded think tanks have produced research designed to delegitimize Black Israelite claims, particularly regarding historical identity. By financing scholars who dismiss Black Israelite interpretations of biblical history as pseudo-historical or revisionist, intelligence agencies allegedly seek to prevent the movement from gaining legitimacy in academic